Pick Six podcast, pretty simple here. Brad, if Brad likes any teasers, we'll talk about them. We're going to be talking about games against the spread, and then we're going to be talking about our favorite daily fantasy players. The games we were talking about this week are Kansas City and Denver, Jacksonville and Cincinnati, San Francisco and Washington, New Orleans and Chicago, Philadelphia and Dallas, New England and the Jets. So we got some divisional matchups. We got some interdivisional matchups. And we'll get going. All right, man. Let's dig into to the games here, and we're just going to go in order, I guess. From Thursday night, which I very, very, very rarely bet a Thursday night game, Brad. Although this year I am like 5-1 in Thursday night games.
Yeah, the Thursday night. I know you have your take on Thursday night, but it doesn't seem to be the conundrum that it used to this year. I don't know why.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's the law of averages, and I'm finally catching up on my poor performance in Thursday night games in years past. But this is just a matchup I like. So it's Kansas City -4 at Denver, and I'll start with this one, Brad. I like Kansas City anytime they're less than a touchdown favored because of the offensive power. Tyreek Hill is back, Damian Williams is back, so their most explosive running back and their most explosive receiver is back. Will Sammy Watkins play? I don't know. It's that time of year in the NFL where everybody's a little injured. Now, if you look at Denver from a health point of view, you have Flacco's fine, Lindsey's fine, Freeman's fine, but Emmanuel Sanders is on the injury report. You have issues on the offensive line. The defense has come up with some injuries, although they've been playing lights out. No arguing how lights out they've been playing the last couple of weeks. And they're at home in Denver. That's a tough place to play. Kansas City coming off of 2 losses. It's hard for me to believe that Andy Reid is going to be outfoxed by a first-time head coach Fangio there. I think it's Vic Fangio. I always call him Fangio, like Cher, or like I don't know. What's another one? What's another one? Oprah. Fangio. But I have a hard time believing Kansas City doesn't win this by a touchdown. I think this is a touchdown game. I think the betting public, they saw Houston and they saw Indianapolis beat Kansas City. Both teams, which I thought, and there's tape on this, I thought would give Kansas City issues. I think Denver will also give Kansas City issues, but I don't think the offense, unlike what we saw with Houston, I don't think the offense can really exploit the Kansas City weaknesses on offense like the other two teams in the past couple weeks have been played them. I think Mahomes, I want to pay attention to that ankle. I know he's got a stiff ankle. Obviously, his footwork is a little bit loose because of that. I want to see him play a little bit better, but I think Kansas City gets it done this week. Brad, what do you think?
I think the same thing, man. And besides all the X's and O's and who's better and why, I just think that Kansas City, they've lost 2 straight. They haven't looked great, and it's about time they right the ship. And that's just exactly what they're going to do. I don't care where they're at this week, man. I think they're just going to right the ship and play a great game.
Yeah, I agree, and it's really that is it. It's Andy Reid when you're like a really good head coach, and I think it's people who follow any of my podcasts know. I think it's Belichick is up here, Andy Reid is about here, and then everybody else is vying for right there, and that would include Sean Payton. No offense to you Saints fans out there who I know love that visor wearing, big red chewing or juicy fruit is it? I can't remember.
Pucker face. Sucker.
He always looks like he's sucking fart out of something. But
he does.
Yeah. But teary eyes and everything, like a bad fart. He's sucking bad fart out of something. But I just think Andy Reid, man, I respect him too much as a head coach. I think he'll get this team going. It's hard. Like I said, this wouldn't shock me if it was a 2-touchdown game. This is the only Thursday night game I've played this season outside of the season opener with New England and Pittsburgh. I like Kansas City. I don't love betting a Thursday, and I also don't, by the way, love betting London games, but I got one of those earlier in the season as well. So, okay, let's move it on, Brad. Next game on our list, we have Jacksonville -3.5 at Cincinnati. Brad, do you want to take this one away?
I think Jacksonville's a little bit stronger, Cincinnati, it doesn't seem like maybe they're tanking as well. I've been hearing accusations that the Dolphins are tanking. I don't know. I find that hard to believe.
I don't think they're tanking. I think that people, because Miami trade. Look, guys, you're allowed to trade your players, and I won't go on too long of a tangent, but when the Browns let a bunch of free agents walk in free agency to recoup as many compensatory picks as you can.
That's right.
That's a strategy that you should do. If you're Miami, okay, you traded Laramie Tunsil. Who the hell cares? If you're a Dolphins fan, do you really think that left tackle is going to take you into the playoffs? Really?
That's right. And I think, the reward for getting the first pick is not as juicy as it
No.
would be for like the NBA. I mean, let's say it's the NBA, LeBron's coming in the draft. This is changing your entire team for 15 years,
Right.
right? So then
Yes.
tanking makes sense, but it doesn't work that way in the NFL. Look, maybe you get the guy. Maybe you get, a
Maybe, but
Peyton
is
Manning.
there a guy?
Maybe.
Is there the last guy, quote unquote, guy that I remember coming out of college that everybody's like, this is a slam dunk Hall of Fame type level quarterback, and that's what we're
Luck.
talking about, right? Luck.
Yeah,
Luck was the
luck.
last one, and then before him, I can't even
Peyton.
remember who was it.
Peyton Manning was
You're
was a
right.
guy
You're
that
right.
they knew was going to be the guy, and he was treated as such, and he turned out to be the guy.
Right.
Right.
And like I think you can make the argument that Jamarcus Russell was that kind of talent, but I don't remember the hype. Like I remember Luck and Manning being like those are the guys. And I also remember Brian Leaf that same season.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
So to that point, I mean, you can find guys in the third round. I think Russell
yes.
Wilson was taken in the third round. Uh, Aaron Rodgers was in the first round, but late. Okay. And we could spend a day and a half going
Yes.
down the line, right?
Yep.
So I think it's stupid to assume that they're tanking. And
And
go ahead.
acquiring draft picks is a valid strategy. And let me just say this
Yeah.
about the people that think they're tanking. Okay, so they see the optics of a team. Well, they're getting rid of all their stars. Well, they're getting rid of all their stars so that they can build a championship cycle. You can't. Again, like 4 years from now, Laramie Tunsil, he's an older tackle. Like, what is, I'm sorry, you can replace him in the draft, a left tackle at his caliber. You can replace him in the draft in the later rounds if you groom and you put a system in place. Like the Patriots, are they drafting Laramie Tunsil type players every year in the freaking draft? No. What they'll end up doing is they'll draft some weird like guard in the second round that nobody's ever heard of, and then they turn him into like a guy that is an all pro. The guy that
right.
I can't remember his name. Logan Mankins is an example of that. And I think he might have been even in the first round. But anyway, yeah, Miami. Like when I watched the games. And Miami was one of the and it might even actually be the only one game this year. I might have missed one last week, but I tell everybody I watch every single game, and I do, Brad. You know I do. I couldn't bring myself to watch this Miami Washington game. I couldn't do it. I saw the score, I saw the highlights as they were coming on, and I watched so much Redskins and I've watched so much Dolphins this year. I knew exactly what happened. I didn't even need to watch it. I'm sorry, I just don't need to. But and I don't want to put myself through it. But yeah, man, like Miami, I don't think they're tanking, man. They play hard. Cincinnati, I don't think they're tanking. I think they're coached poorly. I
And
think
plus,
that's it.
could you ever convince the thought of it now is so ludicrous.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so the players, though, they could never tank. Maybe the organization has a strategy long term that includes getting rid of talent, but the players on the field. Could you imagine telling a guy, hey, for the sake of the Dolphins organization, don't get 2 sacks today?
Yeah.
Because of it, right? And
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
have
By the way, we pay you bonus on your sacks, but why don't we?
Right.
Why don't we just? Why don't you eat that $200,000 that comes with the double-digit tax?
And
season?
by the way, this is your career as a man, and
Yeah.
we'd appreciate it if you just kind of said goodbye to it for our sake.
Hey, why don't
It's
we go
so-
0-16 and put our coaching staff at jeopardy, and then you have a full season of bad tape? Why don't you go ahead and do that
Yeah,
so you
why
never
don't
get
you
a
do
job
that?
again and
Oh,
screw your pension?
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
That sounds like a good
Tanking
idea.
does. I agree with you, Brad. Like organizationally, you can get rid of your talent and you can put kind of like a quote unquote a weaker product on the field, and maybe you'll lose some games. But again, with respect to Miami, and this is the difference in my opinion between Miami and Cincinnati. With respect to Miami, I see Miami playing hard. Not to say that's
too.
yeah. I mean, they're doing their best. God
They're
bless
doing
them.
the
They're
best
doing
they
their
can,
best.
but aren't they?
What's that?
They're doing the best they can, aren't they?
And I got to say, I
think.
respect the coaching staff that can keep a team together like that. That like this team obviously sucks, and they're playing okay. They need help everywhere. They need depth. They need everything. But Cincinnati, what concerns me about them, back to the Jacksonville and Cincinnati game, is they can't. I've been saying this for weeks now. Joe Mixon and Gio Bernard are too damn good to not be able to get any involvement, any yardage in the passing or the running game. I am a big seller. Now, Zach Taylor, so Matt LaFleur, right? Matt LaFleur was you could call a protege, but he was with McVay and the Rams, and I think he was also a quality control guy with the Redskins when McVay was there. Zach Taylor, I don't believe he was with the Redskins, but I think he was like literally like an offensive assistant, where I think he might have been like a 1-year offensive assistant, maybe 2 years or something like that. Like LaFleur moved on and he was the offensive coordinator of Tennessee and then got the Green Bay job. It's like Zach Taylor was just like on the staff around McVay. I don't know, man. I'm not a believer. As I said earlier this week on the Get Paid, Brad, I am selling on Freddie Kitchens. I'm selling on Zach Taylor, 2 coaches in the AFC North. I'm not into them. I'm not into them. I like the guys that everybody always rumored to be fired and moving on. I like Mike Tomlin and I like Harbaugh. They're stable. They can keep the teams moving in the right direction. Pittsburgh winning a game last week, tough game against the Chargers with a third-string quarterback. Talk about coaches that keep those guys going and playing hard. I don't like what Zach Taylor's doing. What I do like about Cincinnati, let me throw some love, is A.J. Green is questionable this week. He might be back. If he's back and Jalen Ramsey continues to do Jalen Ramsey things, this could change the complexion of the game. Spoiler alert, if you haven't figured it out, Brad and I are on Jacksonville this week. Jacksonville minus 3.5. Neither Brad and I like to lay that half point. Maybe tease it down if you can, bet it down to 3. But I don't know. Like, Brad, your point, I like what Jacksonville's doing. We're talking about the guy. You can get guys in later rounds. I like this Gardner Minshew.
Me too.
6th-round rookie, plays with a lot of balls.
6th round. He does. He has an energy to him.
He just has that
Favre. Right? Like, Brett Favre was exciting to watch for some reason or another, and I think this guy has it. He's very likable, and he's enthused out like no one else, right?
Yeah.
And he just has that.
And I think the team rallies around him. I think that Nick Foles is going to lose his job to this guy. I think you have to give this guy a shot.
Yeah, well, that's Nick Foles' MO. I think he prefers it, actually.
Yeah, I know. He's like if you ever watch Blue Mountain State, it's about this this ridiculous college football program, and it revolves around the backup quarterback, and all he wants to do is be the backup because he never gets injured, he never gets any criticism, people love him everywhere he goes, and he always meets a nice young woman to spend a quality evening together with. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's Nick Foles' deal, although I know, not to parallel the character from that fictional show that I was just talking about, because Nick Foles is a different kind of guy. But, yeah, man, Gardner Minshew, he's just got that it factor. I like what he's doing with DJ Chark there. I like that Jacksonville supports him in the run game. Cincinnati's giving up chunk yardage in the run game. I don't think they have anybody that can cover DJ Chark this week. I like all of the players in daily fantasy for Jacksonville.
Can I say one thing, Sean?
Go for it.
There's been a few teams this year where just switching the quarterback has created a spark that has just changed the dynamic of the entire team. The Giants all of a sudden have hope.
Yeah.
The Jaguars are all of a sudden a different team with a different feel. And there's one other one. The Panthers are rolling, man.
They're rolling, man. I think that quarterback's undefeated in his starts.
He is undefeated,
right? What is he, 4-0 now? I haven't even looked at the Carolina Panthers record. And the dude, here's what's different between, I think, Gardner Minshew and Kyle Allen, in my opinion. Gardner Minshew comes in, I think it was week 1, and I think it was against the Chiefs. And it was the first kind of like, this rookie quarterback's kind of rolling on the Chiefs. Maybe the Chiefs defense needs some time to coalesce, which we know about, and we've already talked about the Chiefs this week anyway. But what's different to me is Kyle Allen he's leaning on Christian McCaffrey, and Gardner Minshew's leaning on Leonard Fournette, but they're doing it differently. It's like everything is going through McCaffrey, and all the explosive plays are going through McCaffrey, and all of the passing seems to be short and controlled. And you can win games like that. Norv Turner's doing a great job. No disrespect to Kyle Allen, who could be a future starter, and probably, honestly, in my opinion, should be the starter. Is that sacrilege to say for Carolina to hear? I don't know. But I think he should be the starter over Cam Newton. It's a different team. It's a team that can execute accurately on time at the quarterback position instead of kind of going off schedule. Now, Gardner Minshew is a little bit different because Gardner Minshew came in and he was like running the whole offense. He comes in, he's throwing the ball deep, he's throwing to DJ Chark, he's giving him a chance to catch. He's executing an offense already, which I'm just so impressed by. Because I would think even Daniel Jones, a lot of times you see a talented offensive coach is going to scheme guys wide open and all that stuff. Gardner Minshew, I feel, is making plays and making throws, throwing guys open, giving guys chances. And you don't see that from Daniel Jones or Kyle Allen yet. Emphasize yet.
Yeah,
And so that's why I just feel like Gardner Minshew is a quarterback you can build that team around. I'm really high on the guy. Now I hate that Uncle Rico sketch. I'm going to bring it up every freaking time. I hate that Uncle Rico sketch.
Yeah, it's not.
I don't believe he looks like Uncle Rico.
I'd have to assume it's not his fault. Can we say that?
Yeah, no, not Gardner Minshew's fault. It's all ESPN.
Right.
I hate ESPN's trash,
Yeah.
trash network.
I think they cornered him with that, and I think he didn't have really. He probably got in too deep because he's a sweet little guy, and I think he got in too deep, and SportsCenter exploited him.
Yeah, SportsCenter trying to ruin him, but nobody can ruin Gardner Minshew. Nobody can ruin Gardner Minshew in my book. I love that Gardner Minshew, dude.
Me too.
I told you, so this week is supposed to be mustache week. I've been so busy, I haven't shaved my beard down to the mustache. But I was going to do my an episode of the 3-point stance where I make 3 points, and it's going to be 3 points why I love Gardner Minshew. And I was going to go down to the mustache, and then I was going to put a headband on and a wig because I'm bald under this hat. It's true, and it's sad but true. And I was going to do the wig, and I was going to do the whole thing in a red shirt, like a red practice jersey quarterback, and I was just going to do the whole thing in Gardner Minshew. And I would look more like Gardner Minshew than freaking Uncle Rico, just saying that. Jacksonville, I think we kind of kicked that one dead, right? I think we could probably talk about that. Talked about that enough. We like Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville's just a stronger team. I don't think Cincinnati's playing tough for their coaching staff. The A.J. Green thing throws a little bit of a wrench into it for me, but I still like Jacksonville, man. I like this team. And I like everything they're doing, man. I like this AFC South a lot more than I thought that I would, man. This is a very competitive division, as it turns out. So good for them. Okay, Brad, third game on our list here. We have San Francisco -10 at Washington. Why don't you start off with San Francisco, Washington?
San Francisco, do they not look incredible or what? I mean, they're just dominating. That's the word. They're just dominating teams, and they're doing it regularly. And besides New England, I feel like they're the only one to be doing that, right? I mean, Green Bay is winning, Seattle's winning, but these are dogfights they're in, and it's not domination. I know that much.
You know what I noticed about Seattle, which I found interesting, and I was watching these games, and so Seattle was one of our pick six last week, which, by the way, I ended up taking the Pittsburgh game off the board once I found out Hodges was playing and not Rudolph. So we actually went 3-2 last week, Brad, although we would have gone 4-2 if I didn't take that off the board. But, pick six is going well. I forgot where I was going with that. I trailed off. San Francisco, tell me about it. Oh no, Seattle. So Seattle was they start every game slow, dude. They start every game slow.
They do.
I was watching that game, that Seattle Cleveland game, and I think Cleveland put up 2 quick touchdowns, or maybe they were up 10-0 or something like that, and the crowd was rolling in Cleveland and everything. And I remember looking at that going, this happens to Seattle every week. They'll come back and win. And they came back and won. I wasn't worried about the cover. We hit the cover there. But to your point, Brad, what teams are dictating the game from start to finish? And I've seen, let me just roll off the top of my head. New England definitely, San Francisco definitely, because the defenses for both of those teams are playing phenomenal. Okay, both of them have been aided by kind of weaker starting, schedules and everything. But we saw San Francisco dominate the Rams, which I'm sorry, I know Rams have lost 3 in a row, but that's not easy to do. I could think that maybe New Orleans you could put in there, especially the defense is kind of dictating those games and Bridgewater's winning them. I'm looking through, man, and you could maybe make the argument with Green Bay, but it seems like every game there is a little bit closer than they want it to be with Green Bay.
Green Bay has not dominated from start to finish.
Right. Outside of that Dallas game. That Dallas game, I thought they kind of put it on them. But
they did, and then it turned into this kind of prevent defense, trying to kill the clock. But Dallas made a bit of a run, so
you don't see teams making runs against the Patriots, unless they drop punts or something like that. But
and you don't see teams making runs against the 49ers.
You're right.
At least you have it in a bit, no?
Yep.
I mean, I can't recall exactly what they did at the beginning of the year, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because they just weren't on my radar. But
I'll say this, Brad. You, when we did our thing, you picked the San Francisco 49ers to make the playoffs.
Well, I believe in Garoppolo. I think he's as pro as they come, and he
can get better too. I don't even think he's been playing as well as he played in his first 5 games of the 49ers, but he continues to be undefeated at home, by the way, although this is a road game. I like this too. There's another storyline for everybody out there. San Francisco, Kyle Shanahan of the Shanahans, obviously. Going back to Washington, Washington kind of did Shanahan dirty. There was talk in that building that Shanahan was kind of like a boy turd in that building. There's going to be some bad blood there, not only because of Mike Shanahan, his dad, getting fired and him kind of getting axed, But, Shanahan does not like this organization, and I don't blame him. Shanahan, by the way, right after that, took Atlanta to a Super Bowl as the offensive coordinator, and now he's 5-0 with the San Francisco 49ers, so he's landed on his feet. Funny thing about Washington, too. So, ex-offensive coordinator Kyle Shanahan goes to the Super Bowl. Ex-offensive coordinator Sean McVay goes to the Super Bowl. Ex-offensive coordinator Kyle Shanahan, now 5-0 as a head coach this season. Washington 1-5. And down a head coach. It's Washington, by the way. I'm not bagging on this organization. I'm bitter because I grew up loving the Redskins, and I just hate Dan Snyder. So if you think I'm bagging on the Washington, I'm doing it from a place of contempt, love, and contempt. I don't see Washington having any shot of controlling either line of scrimmage in this game. San Francisco is going to dominate with the defensive line. Their run game is just going to cut through them like a hot knife through butter. Tevin Coleman's going to have his way. Matt Breida is going to have his way. Garoppolo probably doesn't even have to throw a single pass, but he's going to have opportunities, I think, in my opinion, to hit Marquise Goodwin deep. This secondary for Washington, they can only really lock down one receiver a game. I think that one receiver may be Deebo Samuel. That's just my guess. So I think that opens things up for guys like Goodwin or Pettis or Bourne or, kind of take your pick. Kittle, I think, will have a nice game. So I just don't see any. I wrote down 40-6. 10 points, Brad, for us is a lot to lay down. We never do that, but we do it. We're doing it this time. So San Francisco, I think, wins in an easy game over Washington. The woes continue in Washington. Sorry, Callahan, you're not going to go 2-0 this week. Moving on, Brad, we have the fourth game on our list. We have New Orleans +3 at Chicago. I'll go ahead and start with this one, Brad. Teddy Bridgewater undefeated as a starter. Chicago, I don't love the offense.
That's a problem.
Defensively, I think they're phenomenal. I think New Orleans is playing great defensive ball. I think ever since Breeze went down, Brad, I think this defense really kind of stepped up, and they're like, we're going to put it on our shoulders. And Lattimore's playing great ball like he did his rookie season. You have Chicago. I think Lattimore's going to lock down Allen Robinson. Trubisky or Chase or Daniel or whoever is playing quarterback there, I'm sorry, I just don't think they're as good at this point as Bridgewater is. I know Chicago's going to slam me on that. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion. That's what I'm seeing. I'm not anti-Chicago because I love the defense, but I don't think that they're going to be able to hang with New Orleans. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I have 19-16 New Orleans. I'm going to take the better team, the better quarterback. In my opinion, the slightly better coaching staff. And I'll take the 3 points there, Brad. Any counterpoints to that?
I don't think Chicago's anything special, really. I think their defense is great, and I think it's fantastic. And
in my opinion, second best in the league this year behind New England's.
But
you can
awesome,
easily make the argument that Chicago's the best defense this year.
Sure. And Khalil Mack is a game changer, but I don't think they have
year again, probably. Yeah, I mean,
say again.
He could be the defensive player of the league, defensive player of the year this year. I mean, he's incredible. He's
incredible, and I that was a great pickup for them. It still bothers me that Green Bay didn't pony up for that.
What's funny is I thought here's an instance where I was wrong. I thought that trading all that draft capital for Khalil Mack was a huge mistake, and I was wrong. Wrong.
Right. Yeah,
I'm usually not a big fan of trading draft picks plus extending a guy because then you're getting hit contractually and with the draft picks. Man, was that a great move for Chicago.
It was awesome. And you and a few other people were wrong on that as well. But beyond that, I don't like their offense at all. They don't show me anything. And I think out of all the teams in the NFC North, I think they have the worst offense by far. So that's where I'm coming with that. And I think New Orleans is very, very strong.
What worries me, I think, about Chicago's offense is they're one-dimensional every week. And this is going to be maybe the third time I've said that. Now, what's concerning to me, okay, let's say the Patriots go one-dimensional, and that's a super polar opposite side because the Patriots' offense generally is pretty good. But if you go one-dimensional with the Patriots, they came into the season going to be a ground-and-pound team, and then they kind of morphed a little bit, and now it's kind of like a balanced offense, which you want to see. But if Brady was throwing the ball 50, 60 times a game, even as a 42-year-old quarterback, it wouldn't bug you. If Green Bay went one-dimensional, they couldn't get the run game going, and Aaron Rodgers just starts throwing BBs. You don't worry about that. And I'm talking about some really good quarterbacks. What worries me about Chicago is they're so predicated on having the run going for them, and they can't get the run going. And that's concerning. Like, I lived through, as a fantasy football player, I lived through this last year with Jordan Howard. I saw the guy, David Montgomery, that they drafted. Everybody was like, oh, David Montgomery is going to be the next Priest Holmes. He's going to be the next Kareem Hunt. This guy, Nagy's going to coach him up. I didn't like what I saw on tape. I didn't think he was the right running back for them. I still don't think he's really the right running back. I don't love the matchup. I think Chicago needs to be using Tarik Cohen more. I know they're trying to protect him. I know they're still, definitely safe in the playoff hunt. You gotta involve Tarik Cohen more in this running game to get this offense moving. And Chicago so far has not wanted to. Let's see what happens though, man. New Orleans has a really strong run defense, Brad, and maybe they're going to use Tarik Cohen like crazy out of the screen game like they did last year. And I think that's the recipe for success for Chicago. And we'll see what happens, dude. We have they came off a bye week, by the way, Chicago. Right. So that also helped Chicago's cause more time to game plan. But Brad and I are both on New Orleans. All right, second to last game. We have Game 5 here, Sunday Night Football, NFC East showdown. We have Philadelphia +3 at Dallas. Brad, you go ahead and start.
Yeah, I think Carson Wentz, I believe in him. I believe in the coaching staff of Philly. I don't believe in the coaching staff of Dallas. And I don't think they're playing – Dallas doesn't quite know who they are yet. And I'm convinced of that. When they hit their formula and they pinpoint it and they can be very strong, but it's rare that they ever do that. And I don't think they know how to win yet.
Garrett, I think maybe being an ex-quarterback – he likes to throw the ball a little bit more, and I know that Kellen Moore is now the offensive coordinator and calling plays, but everybody has their hands in these game plans. And let's be real about this. I mean, Brad, if I was a head coach on the sideline and I thought my team was throwing too much, and I would go to the offensive coordinator and say, dude, come on. We have Ezekiel Elliott here. Let's pound the ball more. Now, that's not to say that the play call distribution, the run pass distribution has been an issue, but Garrett, I'm not a big fan of Garrett. I don't think Dallas Cowboy fans are big fans of Garrett either. I thought the rumor I was hearing, Brad, before the season was that they were grooming Kellen Moore to take over that head coaching job eventually, which would be interesting.
Kid, that 30-year-old.
Yeah, man, the guy that looks like the guy from that zombie movie. Yeah, The Walking Dead. It's not Walking Dead. It's Warm Bodies. He looks like the guy from Warm Bodies. In Warm Bodies, looks like a zombie.
Garrett's been there like 10, 12 years.
I know, man. Why?
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, it is wild.
So wild.
It's like that is the very definition of a control freak owner who wants a coach that he can mold and control. I think if let's just say another former Dallas head coach, if Bill Parcells had this team would be winning more games, I think. But I'm not selling on Dallas. As I said last week, I'm not going to freak out because they lost or they laid an egg against the Jets. I actually kind of predicted something like that might happen. This week, though, I like the way Philadelphia matches up with Dallas. And let me just talk about schematics for this game. I think that I think that Philadelphia plays the run well. I think they limit Ezekiel Elliott. I don't think they stop him, but I think they limit him. I could see Elliott having like maybe 70, 80 yards and no touchdowns.
Elliott hasn't done much lately, has he? I mean, I think he
had one really nice game like 2 weeks ago, but he started slow. Part of it, I think, is Dallas is bringing him on a little bit slow as well because of the holdout and all that.
I haven't seen a game in a long time where he was the one that was dictating everything and keeping them in the driver's seat. Get like big chunks, getting up, doing the deal where he's chewing it up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, feed me.
I haven't seen that image in a long time.
Yeah, I think part of that could be play calling. Honestly, I think they might be ready to put this franchise on Dak's shoulders, as we've heard Kellen Coward talking about and all this stuff. Brad, you and I before the season, we said this is Zeke's team. No shade at Dak, who actually started the season hot against, let's be honest about it, a little bit of weaker competition. But I'm not selling on Dak, man. He looks pretty good. He's a different quarterback when Amari Cooper plays, though. Amari Cooper's questionable. That's a big deal. We saw that when he went out early against the Jets, it changed the whole complexion of the offense. Again, talking schematics, I think the big matchup that Dallas can exploit is the second wide receiver, who I would label as Michael Gallup, against the second coverage for Philadelphia. Now, if Cooper doesn't play, then that means Gallup is kind of the primary guy, and then you're looking at Tavon Austin or Randall Cobb. He's also questionable, Randall Cobb. You're looking at one of those guys to win that secondary matchup. I don't like that. I think against Dallas, I think Dallas has a great defense, but I think Philadelphia's offensive coaching is going to get things going. I like Goddard; he's coming up. I think Zach Ertz is due for a really big game. Deshaun Jackson's questionable this week; he might play. If he's playing, that adds a whole other layer that we haven't seen since Philadelphia stormed back in the second half against Washington. I like Philadelphia. I just think they're the better team. They have the better quarterback. They have the better coaching staff. 3 points. I know it's a division game. It's on the road. I like it. I would actually worry me more if Philadelphia was -3. I would think that Dallas would be, a little pissed at if we should be the home favorites. Well, Dallas should be the home favorites, but I'm going to take that value and I'm going to take the 3 points. Brad, last game of the week that we're going to talk about, Monday Night Football. We have the New England Patriots -10 at the New York Jets with Sam Darnold back. They looked good last week, Brad. How you feeling about this Jets and New England game?
I think this is a pretty simple bet. It's just one of those. I wouldn't be surprised if New England was favored by 14 or 17. Okay, the Jets were on TV because they were playing Dallas and they finally looked like a football team. But come on, let's everybody slow down. I think this line is incredibly low, and I think New England takes it.
Yeah, New England dominated, but it was Luke Falk was playing quarterback, I believe, at that point. New England dominated that first game. And they didn't get the cover. I think the spread, if I remember correctly, it was either maybe that was one of the weeks where it was like 23 or something like that. And they dominated the game, and the only points that they gave up that game were due to a blocked punt that the Jets recovered in the end zone, and then Stidham, their backup quarterback, came in and threw a pick six. And it cost the cover of that game. Now, this game is going to be completely different because Sam Darnold is back. How is the offense going to look? Well, we only really have 2 games of data. I think Sam Darnold makes his team better, but schematically, the Patriots are going to take away Le'Veon Bell. They're going to make Sam Darnold hit Randall Cobb, or
it's
not
gonna be
Randall
a blowout,
Cobb,
dude. It's gonna be a blowout.
Robbie Anderson. I don't know about blowout. I actually wrote down 26-16, but Brady against the blitz, I think he'll be all right.
But you know what New England does that nobody else can seem to do? They can win by 10, and it's the most dominating 10-point win of the weekend, right? It's like they're up 10, but the other team is not even that close.
Yeah, they've already given up mentally.
And they might as well be down 24.
Right.
It's a very bizarre thing that they're able to do. At least that's just how it feels to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like when I wrote down 26-10, my computer that I run 8 different equations, 4 on 2 different kind of maths, and all of them came back, spat back New England, take New England, take New England. I'm going to take New England here as well. Look, man, coaching staff, and I like Adam Gase as a coach. Coaching staff, nobody's as good as Belichick, even Andy Reid, who I love as well. Quarterback for quarterback, they win. Defense versus defense, they win. Ability to run the ball, I would say usually the Jets would probably have a better run game, but then they're playing against the New England kind of schematic. I don't see any way the Jets do this. I'll take the 10, or I'll lay the 10, I should say. And I'll take New England. So, Brad, let me quickly go through my 6 favorite daily fantasy football players of the week. I'm using the DraftKings numbers. 1 quarterback, 2 receivers and running backs, and then 1 tight end. Daniel Jones, Brad, I have him as my preferred quarterback. Honestly, there's not a lot of value this week. In my analytics, they mirror DraftKings analytics as well, obviously, because all of my favorite quarterbacks are worth a lot. That's not the case every week. Daniel Jones, I think, is the best bargain of the week at 6,100. I like him there. I like the matchup against Arizona. And because of that, I'm going to give you a tight end that might be a good play. If Evan Ingram is out, I think Rhett Ellison is a slam dunk cheap play this week. If Ingram is in, I think he's even worth playing at 6,500. That's not a bargain, but there you go. My other tight end that I have is Darren Fells, who's playing really well for Houston. Houston's been looking his way and targeting him, and when Deshaun Watson can avoid getting sacked every other play or pressured every other play, he can survey the field quite well, and Fells is reaping the rewards of that. My 2 running backs of the week, I have Devonta Freeman and Tevin Coleman, 5,900 and 5,600 respectively. Usually I don't like Devonta Freeman. I have in recent weeks. They're using him a little bit more in the run game, and they're hitting him a lot more in the screen passing game. This offense for Atlanta is gelling. Their offense is actually playing quite well. It's the defense that's letting them down. They're playing the Rams. It's a little bit of a tougher matchup. defensively. The Rams are reeling a little bit, though. I think it's going to be higher scoring. I kind of anticipate both teams being in the 30s in this game, but I like Freeman out of the backfield to get in the end zone. I think it's probably going to be a screen pass reception. Tevin Coleman against Washington. San Francisco's going to be running all day on this team. I think they're going to be playing with a lead, and I think Tevin Coleman gets in the end zone once or twice. At receiver, I have two receivers for you. T.Y. Hilton at 5,900 and Terrell Williams for Oakland at 4,900. Hilton is back. He's healthy. I like the matchup against Houston. I think he'll get some yardage. I think he'll get possibly in the end zone. I like Jacoby Brissett too. We haven't talked about him in this episode, but I like what he's doing in Indianapolis. And Terrell Williams, who's questionable. You're going to want to check that injury report. Oakland versus Green Bay. I don't love the matchup, but I like the value of the primary receiver only being $4,900. Like Green Bay is going to give him a tough time, but Oakland, even against teams like the Bears and other things, they can get the run going. They're going to be patient with their game plan. That's what I love about John Gruden. He's patient. If he goes down by like 14 points, he's still going to run the ball and throw the ball the way he wants to. He's not just going to go 4 or 5 wide the whole game and just dink and dunk it down the field and try to get some quick touchdowns. He's patient. I think Terrell Williams will benefit from that patience. That's going to be an interesting Oakland and Green Bay game. Brad and I are on different sides of the fence on that one. I like Oakland. He likes Green Bay. That line, by the way, is 6.5. So that takes me through. Brad, do you have any teasers that you like this week? I know we kind of talked about some big lines already.
Yeah, I have a great teaser. First game, Baltimore Ravens are 3.5-point favorite underdogs at Seattle. I would tease that 7 points, and you get a nice friendly 10.5-point line. Seattle is humming because of Russell Wilson. But I think it's highly unlikely that they blow them out. I think they do what Seattle does and kind of squeak it out.
Yep.
Russell Wilson will find a way they'll be down 17, with 2 minutes left in the third quarter, and before you know it, they win by 1.
Yeah,
somehow. They've created 18 points for themselves at the very last minute.
This is one of my favorite games of the week, this Baltimore-Seattle game. And we're on opposite sides of the fence here. I actually took Baltimore. I like your Russell Wilson at home argument that you made earlier in Get Paid this week. I have not come over as of yet to Baltimore. I thought Baltimore would win 24-23. And I mentioned earlier in this show that Seattle starts the game slow. Well, if you start slow against Jacksonville can run you just into the ground. And
Baltimore?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I meant Baltimore. I meant Baltimore, yeah. And so Baltimore has that run game that they can just, whether it's Lamar Jackson, like out of a pistol or something, or whether they're handing it to Ingram or Gus Edwards or Justice Hill, they can run the ball. And then off of that, they can hit Mark Andrews or Hayden Hurst or any of their tight ends. And Marquise Brown, by the way, is questionable. They can hit him over the top. They're a three-level offense that can run the ball whenever they want to, and because of that, they can throw the ball whenever they want to. Really interesting game. I like both of these teams. Like, I'm kind of pulling it off my board because I don't know what to do, but I like your 10.5, bet it up to 10.5. That's a nice friendly line. I agree. This one's going to be close regardless of who wins. I could see Baltimore winning. I could see Seattle winning close as well, but I don't see either team blowing the other one out. 10.5, that's a good one, Brett.
Mm-hmm. And to add to it, the Cardinals are 3-point underdogs at New York Giants. I think if you got to move that one 7 as well, so that makes them 10-point underdogs. I don't think that they're any less of a team than New York is in any way, shape, or form. So I think that's a close one as well.
Yeah, and again, this is another game that we're on opposite sides of the fence. I love that too because I am on Arizona actually this week. I have them winning, and I guess you could consider it an upset, but I think they're two strong teams. Sure. I think Arizona, they started slow with Kyler Murray. He's found his groove, dude. I love watching that guy play. He's like a little water bug. If you don't know the reference, Brad and I are from Florida, but you get these little bugs in the ground that just like zip across the thing. Dude is fast. Like the height. Where it really is starting, it kind of bums Arizona out at this point is if they have like a 1st and goal from the 2 and everything's condensed. It's a little bit hard because then you have to have him like roll to the right or the left to basically get out of the way of this tall defensive line. Or if it's like a 4th and goal or I'm sorry, like a 4th and 1 or 3rd and 1 and they're trying to pass off of that, that's when his balls are being batted down. But it seems like he's finding those windows. The offensive line coach, I think, there is doing a great job of getting him throwing windows. I like watching Kyler Murray play, man. I was high on him before the season. I was hoping that like what he's doing now is what he would do. I'm just as a football fan, man, I'm glad to see it. They're always an interesting watch. That's a game you look at on the schedule, Brad. Like if we were before the season, you see Arizona and New York, week 7, you're thinking, ugh, I'm not going to watch that one.
Right.
I would
But
love to watch this game.
It's intriguing.
Man.
Yeah, no kidding,
There's
man.
there's
I
no
would
bad
too.
games on the schedule. If you're an NFL fan, there's not really a bad game on the schedule outside of maybe
Jacksonville, Cincy.
Yeah, that's a little bit of
Would
an
you want to
ugly
sit
one.
down and watch that one?
Miami Buffalo, that's going to be a tough watch, I think.
Yeah, Chargers Titans is a tough one, but beyond that, man,
Yeah, and I think San Francisco Washington is a tough one just because I think it'll be a blowout.
it's
But it'll
one-sided, right?
But
right.
even that has storylines. Brad, by the way, we did agree on a couple other just before we end the show here. We actually we both took Miami plus 16.5. We think Buffalo controls this game, wins it, but like I told Brad, can you imagine like a 20-7 game that Buffalo controls the whole way? I could see that happening. So 16.5 for me is a little bit too much there. There's one more. We both hesitantly took the Chargers plus 2 over the Titans, but we didn't include it in this show for a reason. And I think that's it. I think that takes us through all the ones that we agreed on, buddy.
All right, man.
Well, another great episode, Brad. I appreciate it. Everybody out there, Brad and I are on a roll as we tend to do later in the season once we have some more in-season data. So go out, make some bets, get paid, baby.